You're listening to Bigfoot Society, and I'm Jeremiah Byron. Tonight's story is from a young man who went out hunting in the dense, mist-filled woods of Skamania County, Washington, a place famous for Bigfoot encounters. But what Landon didn't expect was that something in the woods would start targeting him. Boulders, big ones, thrown at him from an unseen force, a sickening, pungent smell in the air, and the feeling that something powerful, something ancient was watching his every move. And this isn't a legend or a myth, it's a first-hand account from someone who never believed until he had no choice but to face the truth. And this is the story of Landon, who came face-to-face with a force he could never forget. So stay with us. All right, Bigfoot Society, we've got the privilege of talking to Landon tonight. Landon's an individual that was forwarded an episode of the podcast and then reached out about some interesting things that have happened over the years in Skamania County, Washington. And so really excited to have Landon on the show. It's an area of Washington where a lot of interesting things have happened over the years regarding Bigfoot. But welcome to the show, Landon. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well.
Fantastic. I'm excited to see where this interview is going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to you so that you have the time to share what you've experienced and what other people have experienced as well, and we'll be chatting about it along the way. But feel free to take it from here, Landon, and take us back as far as we need to go for this.
Alrighty. The first encounter that I believed I've had, it was 2018. It was right after the Eagle Creek fire happened, because Eagle Creek fire was 2017, I do believe. And it was, I think, my first or second year of hunting. And I was usually with my dad through all that stuff. So he always take me out and we would go explore and see if we can find anything and whatnot. But there was a spot that we, predetermined to go the morning before. And this was, autumn deer season, that fall area. And me and my dad, we went out to one of these spots. It's this huge cliff face that drops down. And you can see these kind of like water line from it just falling. It's just these dugout marks, and there's little tiny holes, and we don't really know what lives in there. It's just kind of like it could be coyotes, it could be bobcats, it could be foxes, but there's just these little tiny holes all over this cliff face. And it's about 120 feet up, from top to bottom. And at the bottom where I was, there's these 30 feet by 40 feet boulders, and below and up, like just in size, like these triple ton, 10-ton boulders. And they're just kind of scattered everywhere because as it erodes, the things tend to fall. And I remember we woke up about 6. We got out there. It was 7:30. And we started hiking. And it was just, you couldn't see in front of you. Like, you couldn't see your hand. You couldn't see anything. And then eventually, as you could see the daylight coming through the trees, there was some elk in this clear cut off a ways. And they didn't really want anything to do with us at that point in time, but it wasn't elk season. So we just kind of sat there and watched them for a while. At about 8:39, they wandered off and we went our direction. We continued up the road towards the cliff face. And I remember getting up to the cliff face, and I had a boulder against my back and a pile of small rocks and down trees in front of me, kind of like a brush pile to hide. And around this time, it was that 9:30, 10 o'clock area. And my dad went a different way. He went towards a tree stand, which is a little bit further down the road. And as soon as I lost eyesight of him, and, I couldn't hear him walking no more or anything like that, I sat there, and it was just dead silence, like quiet, eerie, like not a bird, not nothing. And I was like, like the kind of off-putting. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the forest erupts. Just birds everywhere. Like something moved. Like they forgot that we were there or whatever. And then the part that really stood out to me was that it happens a lot when you're hunting, but there is this chipmunk squirrel, probably 20 feet away from me up this tree, about another 10 feet. And it was just staring at me and chirping, barking. And about 10 minutes of that, I was like, that's really annoying. So I started grabbing rocks, little tiny pebbles and stuff, and I was throwing them at the tree, trying to make me be quiet, like, don't blow my cover type thing. And, eventually he quieted down and wandered away. But as soon as he went quiet and I didn't see him no more, the forest was so eerily silent. Like there was no breeze, there was no noise. You could hear your heart, like you could hear the blood pumping through your ears type quiet. And then I heard this loud like thud, like wood on wood, or like if you were to like kick a tree real hard or hit it real hard, this like three really loud thuds behind me. And there's that boulder and then a cliff face behind me. And I'm like, there's nothing behind me. So I kind of leave my little area and I kind of wander up towards the cliff face, trying to figure out like what happened, like did the rock fall or something, making sure like there wasn't a slide going to happen and I was going to be in the middle of it. So I didn't find anything unusual, and then I go back to my spot. Around this time, it's noon. Sorry, it's around noon, and then you just got this pungent odor scent, like it was just this awful scent, like something died. And I'm like, I was here before, I didn't smell that. Now I'm here now, and now I smell it. Like, did the wind change? And I brought out like a little container of chalk. You like press in it, shoots up in the air so you can tell what wind is going. And it just sat still. Like it slowly moved and faded away, but it just didn't move a certain direction. It was just still. And I was like, interesting. So I'm sitting there. There's this awful smell. There's this eerily quiet, and I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for something to pop out, or a deer or bobcat or cougar or something, just something to, gaze upon. And as I'm sitting there, I just felt awful out of nowhere, like this headache. Like it felt like I didn't eat for like 2 days, like that awful stomach feeling, a headache. And then that happens for about 10, 20 minutes. And it was like, to me, it felt like as fast as it came on, it went off. But it was about 10 minutes. And I was sitting there and I'm like, did I eat something wrong? Or like, am I getting sick or something? And then behind me again, I hear these 3 loud wood thumps. And I'm like, what is going on? And so I'm sitting there from where I was. I'm trying to look over this boulder towards the cliff. And all of a sudden, this just probably 300-pound rock just comes flying off the cliff and lands right beside me. Scares the daylights out of me. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, that doesn't happen. Like, yeah, it will fall off the cliff, but it doesn't land that far away. It will land closer and then roll towards you. And I'm still like, that startled me, and I'm like, where'd that come from? Like, what is going on here? So I'm looking again, and I'm like trying to figure out where it came from. And a smaller one, probably like 10 pounds, just twice as fast, twice as far as soon as I saw it, it was past me. And it was like dangerously close. And I'm like, okay, I need to move. I need to do something, whatever it is, or whoever, it knows where I am, and it's trying to tell me to either go away or like get gone or go away. And I'm like, I don't turn my back. I'm looking the direction those rocks came from, and I'm just slowly walking down the trail I came. And then I heard this like low grumble grunt, like something that you would imagine like an angry bear making, like a really low grumble grunt. And the same direction those rocks came from, here comes this, probably ton boulder, just comes off the hill, slams down into the ground, and goes rolling right past me. And at that point, I turn around and I hauled back to the main road, and I called my dad, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but something's throwing these huge rocks at me. And either I'll meet you at the end of your trail, or you can come through there and meet me at the truck. And so he goes through, coming back the way, because why wouldn't he? Like, crazy guy. And so he's coming back through that trail, going the opposite direction. So he's coming back the way he came, which is from where I was sitting. He was heading northwest-ish. So he's coming back that direction and heading I'm trying to think here. But either way, he's coming back from the way he came. We're going directions, going the direction we came from. And he smelt that awful smell. And instead of it being like a death pungent, like awful, like rotting smell, to him, he explained it more of a like skunk weed, like those skunk weed plants. So it wasn't as bad, but it was that pungent, not that dead smell, just a pungent, awful, like skunk smell. And he was saying that as he walked along, he felt ill too, and he was feeling awful, like sick to his stomach. And he walked on his way out. He didn't have anything thrown at him. He just had a smell and an awful stomach, like awful feeling, like a bad feeling or something. And that was the end of that encounter.
That is pretty intense. And you're saying this is in Skamania County?
Yeah, this was upper Skamania County. Skamania County is pretty big.
Right.
From the gorge side, if you're at the gorge, you kind of go right in the middle of the Skamania County. It's right around there.
Gotcha, because, Skamania County goes...
forever.
Man, all the way up to, past Mount St. Helens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Did you ever look to see if anything else had been reported in that area for Bigfoot activity?
I didn't, mainly because I didn't know where to look. Like, I didn't know if I just go on Google or Safari, or if I go like on an app or like a certain web page or a forum. I didn't know where to go. And for the longest time, I just kind of blocked it out of my mind after it happened. It was just like one of those scary encounters where I kind of blocked it for a little bit, and I didn't really think about it that often until I started listening to your podcast, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Because at this time, you would have been around 12, right?
No, I'm 19 now, and 2008, 12, 13.
Yeah.
Barely had a phone, just starting high school, just ending middle school, starting high school. It's like because my high school is kind of weird. You middle school goes to the high school at seventh grade, and then your seventh and eighth grade is in the high school, and then you go to freshman. It was kind of weird.
So during this interaction where the rocks are thrown at you, you're like, let's get out of here. Were you thinking Bigfoot at that time, or is that something where you had that realization later?
At the time, I was just kind of just scared out of my mind. It crossed my mind in the beginning when I smelt it. When I had that awful smell, I'm like, oh, that's a skunk. And then it just got worse. And I was like, that's not a skunk. And, considering that I was there beforehand and then I was there afterhand, and it wasn't there before, but it was there after, I was like, something changed. There's something new. And there's no noise. There's no silence. Like, it's a predator. Like, there's something big that other things are scared of and they don't want to talk. And it crossed my mind a couple months after the fact. And then I was like, I wonder, but I never knew. And then I listened to your podcast and it kind of opened my mind to newer terms or like being zapped.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never heard of that until I listened to your podcast. And I was like, I heard a dude explaining to me, like explaining on your podcast what that felt like, what it was. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, that felt kind of like how I felt, and it was just kind of mind boggling. And then that's when I emailed you and I was like, hey,
Wow. That is wild. When you were growing up in this area, the Pacific Northwest, was Bigfoot ever talked about, or did you hear stories about like, okay, so-and-so just saw something weird, or was that part of your childhood?
Oh yeah. I mean, my grandma loves Bigfoot. Like, she says she don't believe in it, but she has like wooden statues. She has sweatshirts. She has metal portraits. Like if you took like a laser cutter on a CNC machine and cut out a picture of Bigfoot, like she has a hand sculpted wooden statue that's like up to your like knee high. It's like 3 feet tall of one. She has shirts. Like, she loves the idea of it, but she don't believe in it.
Okay.
She's chasing a rabbit.
To her, it's more just part of the culture living out there, it sounds like.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, gotcha. Skamania County, is it, when you're going out hunting in this area or you're going out hiking, are you ever apprehensive of things that could happen? Is it pretty dangerous to go out in this area, or do you feel like you guys have a pretty good handle on things?
For me and my family, it really depends on where we're going.
Landon, so you have this situation happen to you where you experience the quiet, something getting, multiple huge boulders getting thrown at you, and then how does this affect you after this? Does, sometimes when this happens to people, they go down this road of like, okay, what's Bigfoot? I have to figure this out, or did it not really affect you a lot?
Considering the young age I was, I didn't really look too deep into it. I just never, like, from 2018 to now, I've probably been back to that spot 2 or 3 times, and it was never by myself. I never had someone lead me, if that makes sense. And I never go out in the woods without someone with me. I never go by myself, even if I'm hiking. Like, if I'm going off a paved road, like, even if I know the road like the back of my hand, like, it could be gravel, it could be a trail, I don't go by myself. A lot of hikers around here do get lost. They do get themselves in trouble. There's a very popular hiking spot out here. It's called Beacon Rock. And a lot of people climb to the top and they roll their ankle. And then fire department has to go up there. Search and rescue has to go up there and bring them back down because they rolled their ankle. They can't walk, or they dislocated their knee. Like, a lot of awful things happen very quickly when you don't expect it. about 2020 area, 2020 to, 2019 to 2020. My mom, sister, and my dad's friend's wife, they all went out road hunting. And I can imagine, you just go out on a vehicle, you go along gravel roads, and you see if you can find anything. If you find something that you're able to hunt, you get it. And they were out there, and they were just on a random road in the middle of nowhere in Skamania County, or out by Carson. And they were rolling slow. They were going, and they had all the windows down. They were looking, they were glassing, trying to see if they could find anything within the trees. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they had this awful, pungent smell. And, when you're driving and you smell an awful smell like that, it's a dead animal. It's a skunk, it's something. But when you smell that smell for the next 5 miles, like when it follows you for the next 5 miles, and then after that, nothing. That's one of the less severe incidences that I have in my little pocket here. So it's just that they had this awful pungent smell, and it followed them for 5 miles, and they were swearing up and down that they saw Bigfoot, and it was Bigfoot that was following them, trying to see what they were doing, and just observing, being curious and stuff.
So they're saying they actually had a visual sighting during that time?
One person, the driver, says that they saw it, but no one else did. So it's just kind of like one of those things where it's like here and there. Like, I cannot be for sure that it was, I wasn't there. And there's one person saying that they saw it, one person, and there's 2 other people saying, I didn't see it. So it's kind of hard, but they all had the same story of they smelt this awful pungent smell, and it followed them for 5 miles, and then it just disappeared.
That is cool that they all experienced, though, the smell. But the driver that said they had the sighting, did they say any details about, like, it was by the side of the road or crossing the road or anything like that?
It was, if I were to put myself into her position and kind of like think of it my way, because she didn't really give a definite, like, it was this many yards away or this and that. But from the driver's seat, from her driver's side car, she probably could see about, 5 yards from her door to the edge of the road is about 5 yards. And from the edge of the road to the tree, she could probably see another 10 to 15 yards. Not very far. And all of it's like, it's new growth. So it's just trees and low hanging bushes, very, very low growth. Like, it's not old growth. It's all new growth. It's small. It's brand new. It's very green. And so the way she described it is that she looked over and she just could see this. She described it as a bear. It looked like a bear that went from a upstanding position to as if it was going to fall over on all fours. Kind of like if you could imagine you standing up and then you go to lean forward to run, is kind of how she reenacted it and also explained it. And then she could see it past a couple trees, and after a couple trees, it just disappeared. It was just this black furry blur of something kind of in a forward-leaning position along the road with them, and it disappeared.
So just enough for her to think about that for the rest of her life, definitely. That's wild.
She still talks about it. Like, when she gets drunk enough, she'll talk about it.
Yeah, right. Oh, my goodness. Man, that I would just be thinking about that all the time. Oh, wow. Okay, so that's 2020 or 2019 in Carson
Mm-hmm.
area. Okay.
And then the most there's another one, but we'll get there when we get there. But the most recent one would be this one. Kind of ties into two different things. But me and my buddy, we're very close. We're very outdoors, and I took him hunting for his first time, and he kind of fell in love with being outside and the whole entire hunting experience, and he wanted to get his hunting license. He wanted to get his own rifle. He wanted to go do it all. And then he got bit by the Sasquatch bug, or he got obsessed with it. He just wanted to go find one. He wanted to go, camp out and have, that type of experience and stuff like that. So apparently he watched a whole bunch of podcasts and a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and he triangulated high points of sightings of Bigfoot out by Damascus and Sandy, Oregon. Somewhere around there, kind of by Onalaska, is where he says. He says he camps out somewhere in the outskirts of Onalaska, Oregon. And him and his buddies, they go out there and they go try to hunt for Bigfoot. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you're crazy. Like you're gonna stumble upon something you don't want to find. So I'm sitting there and me and him are talking about it, and he's trying to coerce me to go with him, and I'm like, dude, I'm good. I've had my fair share. I don't need any more yet. And so I would ask him about it because he would go every weekend, and he would come back and talk to me and try to convince me. I'm like, I'm still good. And then there was a couple stories that he had that I was like, yeah, I'm for sure staying home. But he had a couple encounters where it was him and his friends out somewhere in the middle of Onalaska, and they had a campground set up next by a little river, and then there's a bigger river further out. And he was telling me that they had something. He didn't really go into too much detail, but he said that there was this kind of like eerie feeling like they were being watched the whole entire time they were setting up. And after they got set up, sun setted, like it got dark. They started a fire. And they went to bed for the next morning. And as soon as the fire went out, he said that he could hear something heavy come up and poke at his tent. Like, if you could imagine like a 5-foot tent, it was just reaching over, like as if something were to reach over and just kind of put its paw or hand on top of the tent and just kind of see how much it would flex, just trying to see how much it would bend. And he's inside of it in his sleeping bag, and he's sitting there, and it wakes him up, and he goes, "Who's there?" It stopped, and you could hear it take a step back, and then it almost backhanded the back of the tent. It either backhanded or swatted at the tent and just kind of brushed up against the tent. And that's when he pulled out his pistol and put 3 rounds through the side of the tent. And you could hear something run and breaking and just barreling through the trees. So he gets out, he wakes all of his friends up, and he's like rambling about this experience he just had. And I was like, I'm staying up all night. I'm going to figure out if it ever comes back. So he stayed up all night. He chopped all the wood he could find, kept the fire going, and stayed up. He slept through the day. And he was saying that when he got out of the tent to go wake everyone up, he could hear it crashing through the trees. And then you could hear it hit this big body of water. And it sounded like if someone were to do a cannonball. And so the next morning when he woke, the afternoon he woke up, him and his buddies went out that direction. And you can kind of see where this trail has been created. It's a very new trail. They didn't know if it was whatever it was. But they followed it, and it led to the stream. And you could see this. It looked like beaver slide marks into the water. Like 2 beaver slide marks, as if you were running real fast on mud and you went to go stop and you just kind of slipped. That's what it kind of looked like. And he was like, whatever it was, it went into the water. Like he swears up and down that it was something big. It was something huge. Like he laid 3 rounds into it and they can't find no blood, no nothing, no anything. I'm like, all right. Well, just do your thing, be safe, get flashlights, get like a thermal scope. And he was like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that one. But to go back out, the next 2 weekends, 2 weekends after that, they go back out. They are in the same area, and him and his friend, or him and his 2 buddies, his other 2 buddies are a little under the bottle. And they're walking up this road looking for grouse or, grouse or pheasant, just something. I don't really agree with it because it's not the season for it. But they're going for it. They're just looking for something to, get down and eat it for dinner or lunch or whatever. And he said that they were out there for so long that the sun went down and it got dark. And he had the flashlight and the other 2 didn't. And they're walking down this gravel road. And he could hear something in the bushes on the side. And he shined it over. And it looked like something just kind of dipped out of the light. And then there was this awful smell. And he just was like, okay, I want to go back to camp. Let's turn around. So he turns around and heads start back down to camp. And he's walking down, and you could hear the two other guys behind him, but he's talking and he's not getting a response. But he can hear the people behind him, and so he's going down this road. He's talking, and they're not talking back, and so he turns around to go like, "You guys okay?" And all he sees are these 2 figures just dart to either side of the flashlight. And his friends are 200 yards up the road at the very top, just sitting there wondering where it went. He turns around and his friends are 200 yards away and they're wondering where he's at. He's the only one with the flashlight. And they're down there, they're under the bottle a little. They're all hanging out, messing around. It's dark out, and he turns around and they're not behind him, and he sees these 2 figures jump off the side of the road, like either side of the road. And it scares him so bad that he lays like a whole entire mag down the hill the way that they ran, like whatever it went down the hill, wherever it went. And he said he could hear as if it got hit, like a little like a like a grunt, like as if it either got hit or something hit it, whatever it was, but it was just this low rumbling grunt. And he runs back to the other 2, tells them what happens, and drags them all the way back down to camp. And he just stayed up all night and watched the fire, made sure it was lit. And that night, he swore he could hear things around him moving, but it wasn't just something walking. It was just kind of sitting there, swaying back and forth. It was like if you were sitting there in a bush and kind of sit there and try to sway with the bush or something. Like you could just hear a bush rattle. And that's all he heard all night. And he didn't want to go near it. He didn't want to mess with it because he was the only one up. If he couldn't see it, he was okay. And that's the end of that one.
That's extremely interesting. Is he still pretty gung ho into the whole Sasquatch thing after that?
Oh yeah, it just fueled the fire for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said this was around Sandy?
On Alaska.
Is that in Washington or Oregon?
I think it's in Oregon, on Alaska, Oregon.
Okay, I was just I usually try to follow along with when the individual's talking, and only on it's ON and then Alaska is how it's spelled, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only one I can find is up in like up by Chehalis. But I guess maybe there's some unincorporated thing in Oregon. I'll have to take a look closer. Very, very interesting.
I was like, what's the location? Like, send me the coordinates or whatever. Like maybe I want to go one day.
Mm-hmm.
And he just, I can't remember. So he said it was out by Sandy because him and his family, he has some family out by Sandy in Damascus, Oregon.
Mm-hmm. And
he made it sound like, because I was like, I've never heard of Onalaska, Oregon. Nonetheless, Onalaska, Washington. So he was just like, yeah, it's over by Onalaska. But the two places I do know of is Damascus and Sandy, and he said that it's also near that area. And I was like, all right, man. But yeah, somewhere over by Damascus and Sandy for sure. I don't know about the Onalaska part.
Gotcha. Which, just south of Sandy, you get into some crazy stuff. If you go south of Andy or south of Sandy, you're getting into like Estacada, and there's wild stuff down there. I mean, that whole area, listeners will know.
Estacada is the name. Sorry, Estacada is the name.
Oh, okay.
Onalaska, it's Estacada. Sorry, I've got it mixed up.
Okay, that makes way more sense. Yeah, Estacada is crazy for Bigfoot. Dude, it's bonkers. Okay, so that puts that account in a whole different light. Wow. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. And he fired through the tent 3 times.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so weird. I think that's the first account where someone has actually fired through the tent. Because I mean, it's interesting because he wasn't able to see what was out there. He's still fired through the tent. That's wild.
Well, I mean, I don't really blame him. Personally, I wouldn't have shot through the tent because you don't know what's on the other side.
Right.
It could have just been a friend fucking with you.
Mm-hmm.
But when y'all get, just under the bottle and everyone passes out in their tents and it's dead quiet and you're going to bed and all you can hear is a fire cracking, the crackling of fire, and then out of nowhere, just something comes up and you could hear it walking outside of your tent and it just starts playing with your tent, kind of freaks you out. You're a little underneath the influence at that point in time, and you just do the first thing that comes to your mind. And he put 3 rounds through the tent.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense when you think of the whole context. So yeah, wild area. Estacada's got a ton going on. And did you say was that pretty recent then?
Yeah, that was within the past 2 months.
Okay, wow, that is very recent. My goodness. It sounded like there was you had one other account to share as well.
Yes, this one I can say from personal as from like the first one, but in chronological order from what I can definitely say what it was to what I can't definitely say what it was. This last one is what I don't really know about.
Gotcha.
And Yeah, it's. Oh, that scared the crap out of me. Uh,
That's a weird whistle out of nowhere, dude.
right? I'm
That's
sitting
fun.
outside.
Okay.
I'm sitting outside of my driveway because it's the only place that's quiet, and that weird whistle appears out of nowhere, and I turn around and I almost poop myself, but it was just some dude riding a Segway on the road.
Oh, nice. Just a random Segway guy. That's cool. All right.
Oh, that scared the crap out of me. All right. But the last encounter, this one's gonna be more of a longer one, and um, it. I was a little. I was be. I know I want to do it in chronological order, but you got to save the best for last. This was around middle school, you know, beginning of middle school, like the beginning and the middle of middle school. That time frame. And me and my good buddy and his dad, we all went out camping. I don't remember where. I don't remember the campsite, but it was just, it was mainly like a tent site, no campers, no pop-up campers, nothing like that, just tents, grills, that sort along the river. And me, my friend, and his dad's ex-military. My friend, he's about the same age I am, around that time, maybe a little bit younger, like by a couple, nothing major, maybe by a year or so. And I remember us setting up, us getting ready, and this campground's like super popular. It's the middle of summer, like nice water, middle of summer. It's hot, it's sunny, it's nice out, clear weather. You just want to go outside. You want to go do something. You want to go camp. It's that weather, and it's by this river. I wish I remembered the locations, but I don't, unfortunately. And I remember we went out, we had a great time. We set up camp, we went out, we had a great time. We come back, and this campground's fuller than when we arrived. And we relax, we get s'mores going. We go to we start getting our way to bed, and you know the campground slowly the lights start going out, and you get ready for bed. It gets quieter and everything. And so I remember us going to bed. We were in two different tents, one for his dad and one for me and my buddy. And we're going to bed, and we're quiet. You just hear the water running. A couple people are still up, talking around the campfire. And I remember going to sleep, and then me and my buddy, we wake up to a car peeling out. And we're like, oh, someone got drunk and decided to go for a drive or whatever. And so we wake up, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom since I'm up. I get up, and I go outside the tent. I look across the campground, and everyone's gone. It's about probably 1 a.m. around this point in time. I get up to go to the bathroom, and everyone is gone. I couldn't tell if it was just the people close to us left or everyone was gone. It was dark, but it looked like everyone left. And so I was like, that's strange. And so I wake my buddy up, and I'm like, hey, the campground's empty. And he kind of was like taken aback at first. He just woke up, and he's like, huh? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, the campground's empty. Isn't that strange? And he was like, yeah, that's weird, but it's probably, nothing big, nothing serious. And I just was like a little confused, a little like, what's going on? Like, what happened? And then I do my business, and I go back to bed. And then maybe it didn't even feel like my eyes closed, but I dozed off. It was super quiet when I woke up, but I was woken up by something hitting the tent. And it just sounded like something like if you were to like you know when you splash water with the back of your hand and you like trying to splash water to someone?
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like that, but against a tent instead of water. You're just kind of flicking your fingers at it and trying to push it. And I wake my buddy up and I'm like, dude, what is going on? Like, is your dad with us? Is like, what's happening? And he wakes up and, you know, he's taken aback again, you know, just, and it rattles him awake pretty quick after he sees it happening. Something's pushing up against the tent. And then just like the other one with the camp, it almost seemed like if it reached over the tent, grabbed it from the middle and just kind of lifted it up and put it back down. Lifted it up, put it back down. While we're in it. No lights, no nothing. And we're sitting there trying to whisper. Like, we don't want to piss whatever's off. You know, if it's outside, we don't want to piss it off. It obviously can lift up the tent while we're in it. And it's lifting it and us up, but not enough to get off the ground, but just enough as if you were to feel weight and you put it back down. You feel weight and you put it back down. And we're just psyched out of our mind, like, what in the world is going on right now? Like, what is out there? And so we're sitting there, and then I remember it going real good against the tent, and I cannot remember if I screamed or my friend screamed, but one of us screamed, and it stopped, and then his dad woke up, because the way that the tents weren't set up, if from the side it was playing with the tent, if you were to walk backwards about 5 feet, you would hit his tent. So we screamed, and you could kind of hear it. You know how you can, like, if something's really close to you and it fades away, you can hear more sound as if something left. It was kind of like that. It sounded like something kind of backed away, and we could hear the river again. And then his dad wakes up, and he's gung-ho out of the tent, and he has his flashlight and his gun, you know, wrist over wrist, and he turns his flashlight on and just starts laying into whatever it was. It was right there next to his tent. By the time he got out of his tent, it was down by the river, and just flashes the lights on and just starts screaming like bloody murder, like, get out of here, go, 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 get out of here, go. And he starts just laying down rounds towards it as whatever it was running away. And it just ran, and it never seemed to stop. Like, it never seemed like he ran out of ammo. It never seemed like he couldn't see it. And that was kind of more of a scary part, you know, when you're younger, and then all of a sudden, you know, just whatever it is, just one of you scream, and then all of a sudden, within, like, it felt like 2 seconds, a grown man is yelling with a flashlight and a gun, and just yelling while shooting at whatever is outside. And it was quite a awakening, per se, to exactly how Bigfoot, you know, because his dad was like, that was a Bigfoot. We packed up that night, and I didn't sleep in the car. I don't remember, but I know I didn't sleep on the whole ride home, but we left right after that. All we did was the tent, the sleeping bags, and put everything in. Whatever was left, it wasn't important. And we get in the car and we leave. I've never been back there, and me and my friends still talk about it every now and then. His dad does every now and then too. It's nothing like we're trying to be like, whoa, what, you know, like, don't talk about that. That's something we don't talk about. It's like, that was crazy. Like, we still wonder what it was. But his dad swears up and down, my friend swears up and down, that it was a Bigfoot, and it was toying with the tent, and it was messing with the light, like, you know, everything that was outside of the tent. You know, you leave stuff out of the tent when you're a kid, like the lights, or, you know, like a lantern light, or, you know, s'mores or chocolates or whatever. So you know, our first thought was like, oh, it's an animal, you know, just eating the s'mores that were left out. But his dad said that thing was on two legs, and it was moving like 10, 15 miles an hour. Like it was bolting. And he was saying that the height of it was about 6 to 7 feet tall, broad shoulders, and really hairy. It had a head, it had arms, it had legs. You know, the knees bent like a human, the arms swayed like a human, but the arms are down. If it was standing straight up, it was kind of more of a slouched. The knees were bent and the hands were by the knees. And it was just sitting there messing with our tent. And when it took a step back, when we screamed, whatever it was, because I still don't know, but you know, these other two are like, "Oh, it's Bigfoot." I wouldn't doubt it. Like, I don't doubt that it was Bigfoot, but I didn't see it. I had no idea, but if anything, it was. And whenever it stepped back, it stepped on the corner of the tent and broke the fiberglass little rods that held the tent up. And that's what woke his dad up. His dad has, CPAP. He snores. He didn't have a CPAP. We were in the middle of nowhere, but he uses a CPAP and all that good stuff because, just bad breathing. So, he's a heavy, deep sleeper. And he probably, I know it was his 45 millimeter, probably 15 round mag, and dumped the whole entire mag at whatever it was, threw in another mag, and he watched the woods and around us as me and my buddy tried to pack everything up. It wasn't neat, it wasn't pretty, but we just packed everything up into the back of the car, SUV, and we never went back, and we didn't talk about it until the next morning. And in the next morning, it was just kind of like everyone just was a little off. It was one of those experiences that you go through and you wake up and you just have this weird feeling like something's different, something's new, something changed. And you're just like, you're going through your day-to-day life, but you're just a little scared because something changed and you don't know what changed. And it was like that for probably a week to 2 weeks. And then that kind of feeling of something changed or something new happened kind of went away.
That's extremely intense, Landon. Man, and it sounds like it's hard to remember the specifics of where it was. We definitely know it's somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. Do we know maybe if it's more Oregon or Washington?
I know that it was about an hour to 2 hour car ride from Woodland, Washington. I don't know what direction, but he was staying in Woodland at the point in time, and it was an hour to 2 hour car ride away from Woodland.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a pretty big area. Yeah, there could be a lot of different directions that you went. That's extremely interesting. I mean, that must have affected you was it a long time after that you started going back into the woods, or how did that affect you?
I mean, yeah, after that, after that happened, honestly, it just kind of shocked and rattled you. And when you were outside by yourself as a kid, you're already scared of the dark, and that didn't help. So if I was in my room and the light was off, I was scared shitless. I was thinking that whatever it was is going to come knock on my window and, pull me out of my window. And it was definitely an experience that I won't forget, and I know the other two won't forget. And it's something that you'll always keep in the back of your mind. Like when I'm out in the woods, even when I'm with someone, I still have that, our head on a swivel. Like if you smell something, like I lost my sense of smell to COVID, so I can't really smell. I can smell it if it's awful, and I can smell it if it's like super, super sweet. Those are like the two ranges of scent I have. And that's the main reason why I go out with someone. And I'm like, hey, if you smell something and it stinks, if it smells awful, if it doesn't stop, like, let me know. We'll go. Like, I'm not gonna sit around and wait for whatever it is to reveal itself or, try to do something.
Landon, you guys have been through some pretty wild stuff up there. You and the people that you know. I just want to say, thank you for coming on the show to share what you've experienced. Is it a thing where you want to keep having experiences when you go out, or you could live without any from here on out?
I definitely could live without more experiences, but at the same time, it interests me. Like, it scares me, but it intrigues me. Like, it's intriguing. Like, hey, like, this happened. You had an experience. Like, I'm not craving for another experience. I'm not going to go looking for it, but if it comes finding me, I'm going to be there. That's how I feel about it. Like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I'm not going to stop it, but I'm not going to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any advice to people that might be listening where they're like, they really want something to happen, but they haven't had something happen like what happened to you yet?
I mean, out here, when you have an experience, you're going to lose your sense of direction. You're going to lose your sense of reason. You're going to go into fight or flight mode unless if you're genuinely prepared, or, if you're ex-military, you're going to be ready for those types of situations. You're going to be ready to confront whatever it is. But if you're new to the experience, if you never had an experience and you really want one, personally, if you're that determined to find an experience or go looking for it, don't do it alone. Bring someone with you. Because if something goes wrong, it's much better to have someone with you that can help you, that can call someone. Like, if you, like, on Bigfoot related, like if you were to fall and twist your ankle and you dislocate your ankle, there's someone there that can hold you and walk you back to camp. Without that person, you're going to sit there and there won't be much that you can do, especially if you don't have a phone, or if you lost your phone when you fell, or your phone cracked when you fell. It's better to have, the way I like to look at it is, more hands make less work. 4 feet are better than 2, and 4 eyes are better than 2. It's, when you have that extra person, it's more security. The more people that you have with you, the more confident you will feel about doing whatever you're going to do. And however you're going to approach it, just don't do it by yourself.
I think that's great advice for going out in the woods in general and doing anything in the outdoors. But, Landon, thank you so much for coming on the show. I want to make sure that you were able to share everything that you had been wanting to share today.
Yeah, I mean, and for people who are thinking about coming on and talking, when I first emailed and I was kind of like, am I really doing this right now? Like, am I genuinely going to do this? And it took me a couple days to genuinely set up the date, just because I thought about it. I was like genuinely debating, like, what is this going to change? Like, what if this does change something? What if this does something? Like, what's going to happen? Like, all these what ifs. Just, if it's something that you feel like you want to share it. If it's something that you want to talk about it. It's, if you're listening to this just to hear other people's experiences, you can listen. But when you're trying to gain that courage and that momentum to go through that email and genuinely reach out and try to get in contact with the Bigfoot Society and everything like that, there's nothing that can happen. Like, the worst that can happen is you lose cell service. Like, your Wi-Fi goes out. The phone call hangs up,
I think that's a great way to put it. I appreciate you sharing the thoughts you have about that. But I think that's a perfect way to put it. But, Landon, thank you for coming on the show. And if anything else does happen in the future, you're always welcome to, reach out if you need someone to share it with. And I just appreciate you coming on tonight.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Just want to take a minute to say thank you for listening to this episode of the Bigfoot Society podcast. Landon's story is one of those rare encounters that will stick with you, not just because of the rock-throwing Sasquatch, but because of the eerie silence that came before it. If you enjoyed this conversation, please make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new episodes. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please follow the show and leave a review. It really helps others find us. Now, if you've had a Bigfoot encounter, especially in Washington's Skamania County, Carson, or the surrounding areas, we want to hear from you. Please send me an email at bigfootsociety@gmail.com and let's talk about it. And thanks again for being part of the Bigfoot Society. Until next time, keep your eyes open, trust your gut, and never stop asking what else might be out there. And see you in the woods.